behind you, Clone.
Hey, and welcome to another Battlefront update. After yesterday's disappointing announcement for Season 2, I hope everyone has been able to cool off from that initial shock, as it's no secret that we all expected something different than what was presented. But today we're not going to be focusing on Season 2, rather not entirely. I wanted to instead talk about the ongoing behind-the-scenes concerns regarding Battlefront 2 that were leaked out, and just in general go over some of the big questions the community have regarding the future of the game. First up, I'll be basing everything in this video off the leaks made by the anonymous DICE insider who had their leaks posted on Reddit via a third party earlier this week. Yeah, everyone at first thought he was lying, mainly because of the kind of stuff that he was leaking out to the public, which, well, wasn't exactly good news, and naturally the community didn't want to accept that as the truth, and I don't blame them. And yes, it is an unconfirmed leak still, which is hard to accept as 100% fact. But as of right now, every single thing that this leaker has put out has come true, such as us getting the 2v2 Hero Showdown mode, Jabba's Palace, the new legendary skins. Heck, he was even the one that leaked out the picture of the Leia Bosch skin, which I myself had initially doubts about. So given the fact that they've been right about everything so far, I think it's only fair to hear them out about the rest of the information they provided. Now, the insider has provided us an answer as to why we don't have a roadmap yet, which we've been asking for since the game came out last November. And the answer for this isn't too surprising. The insider claims that DICE don't even have an established 100% roadmap that is put in stone, as things are constantly changing overnight and there's no consistency. And this does make sense, given how much cool things prominent leakers in the past like some_info provided, such as dual mode, ARC troopers, and so on, that never materialized past the testing phase. I'm sure that the DICE employees that worked on these things were confident that their project would make it into the game, only for then in the last minute to be decided that it won't and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, regarding the post-launch team, the insider has confirmed exactly what I speculated to be fact in my video, why DICE are taking forever with new season DLC, that I made a few weeks back, where based on a few small pieces of evidence, I came up with the theory that the main reason for this was that they had a small team working on the post-launch content, which while it was making new and original material, it also had a bunch of filler content made by the initial production team to try and pad things out in between all the major DLC offerings. And considering that video is almost at 100,000 views, it wouldn't be much of a stretch to think that the employees at DICE saw it and begun leaking out this information, which only confirmed my suspicions. And seeing as DICE employees plenty of times on Twitter have already admitted that they do watch Battlefront content made by us YouTubers, I don't think the timing of these leaks was coincidental. The team that is working on the post-launch content is small due to many having been moved off the project to work on Battlefield 2018, and also because the game just isn't making money due to the previous microtransaction system being gutted, which as a result, now EA just aren't taking this game seriously anymore and have substantially cut funding for production of new content. So what we're left of now is an undermanned team working with a slashed budget trying to pull off miracles. What they do have is a bunch of pre-made filler content that they're trying to stretch out for as much as possible for the duration of the game's life, which is why we still haven't seen stuff that was leaked in the game back in November released to the public yet. Also, I want to touch on something that I've had several people ask me to comment on regarding what community manager Ben Walk said. Stated that there are currently 100 people working on the game as of right now. And, alright, first things first, 100 people working on a AAA title is by no means a lot, especially for the size and scope of a company like EA and DICE. An indie studio, sure, but not DICE, who back in 2016 had 640 employees, and very likely hired much more since then. Second, when DICE did have all hands on deck working on Battlefront 2, it was still too much work for even such a massive company, to the point where they needed an additional 2 other studios like Emotive and Criterion to come in and help work on both the campaign and arcade mode. Which, by the way, neither Motive or Criterion are still attached to this game anymore, as EA now has these studios instead working on other projects. Lastly, you have to remember, Ben Walk is a PR person, and as such, to his job, he's not allowed to tell you the actual truth. Rather spin words around to make you think that your answer has been answered while it actually hasn't, or just answer with a pretty vague response, like he did here. Right, I'm sure 100 people are attached to the game on paper, but how many of them are doing actual work or even full-time members? As remember, at AAA studios like DICE, you have to factor in that he means everyone working on the game, not just the actual coders and designers. So that 100 number also encompasses all the marketing team, all the management team, all the artists, the people who look at the media side of things, and so on. So it would be reasonable to assume that the number of actual designers, developers, coders is somewhere in the 20s, which is very disappointing. The insider also revealed that DICE apparently have a huge list of reported and unsolved bugs and glitches in their database since the beta stage. And they're not doing anything about it because of the lack of resources and funding. Whenever they're asked about fixing the bugs, it's usually avoided with the simple, "we're looking into this," or "we are aware of the situation" lines. Another interesting thing to point out by the insider is the gag order put on the DICE employees by EA and Disney. The DICE developers are not allowed to write as freely as they would like to, or at least in the same way that they did a few months ago. This is done by EA to prevent more potential PR disasters like what happened with the launch of the game. They can't afford risking another cataclysm like that. So people like Ben Walk were brought in to temper the community with well-written and careful words. And because of this, a lot of the DICE employees actually had to create shadow accounts on Reddit, with a lot of them apparently getting to the top of the front pages of suggestions that are actually under development, while others are leaking information to the public to let us on the outside know what's really going on the inside. As far as leaks go for Season 2, the second half looks to be incredibly underwhelming. Apparently no new heroes, no new weapons, no new vehicles, and no new star cards. The new location from the Solo movie will be a small-sized map, and it will feature tunnels similar to the first phase from Crate. This of course doesn't fit in with the other leaks we got for the Solo movie, which did promise new heroes and such. As it stands, I think our best bet would be to go into the second half with the lowest expectations possible. So if this new leak proves to be correct, it won't be a shock to anyone. Now let's talk about what EA's current plan for Battlefront 2 is, and according to the leaks, it isn't very optimistic. So the plan before was of course to make content that would drive the purchase of loot boxes. A new vehicle or hero would make people buy loot boxes to obtain and upgrade them and in turn drive sales. But if that no longer being the case, there is now no motivation for EA to make non-cosmetic content. Going forward now, every step will be to ensure that credits are drained to encourage the purchase of crystals. Even milestones will be apparently rebranded as HUT contracts that will be bought with credits. The plan from the very beginning was to make more money than to give the same amount of DLC for free. But that isn't happening now. So the focus has shifted to cosmetics and gimmick modes to pad out content. Apparently old modes from Battlefront 2015 will be ported over eventually, like extraction on new maps as well. Because right now the focus is just churning out as much cosmetics as possible to hopefully generate revenue. If DICE can't show that the game is not profitable, then there will be no major content greenlit to be created, period. Finally, for future content coming to the game, we've got a lot of minor and major stuff coming. However, when all of this is to be released remains to be seen, as there are a lot of half-completed assets and almost everything right now looks to be in limbo due to DICE trying to buy time. A lot of stuff like Droidekas, Obi-Wan, Grievous have been put on the back burner since mid-January. So Dennis wasn't lying when he was teasing about the Clone Wars on Twitter way back then. Funny enough, General Grievous has apparently been finished for a while now, while Obi-Wan Kenobi is still a work in progress. And even though voice actor James Arnold Taylor has stated that he wasn't asked by anyone to come in yet to do the voice lines for Obi-Wan, it doesn't mean Obi-Wan isn't coming to the game. I mean, I really shouldn't have to say this, but voice acting is usually the last thing to get done on the list of things, both for game development and TV shows. First, they need to complete the character, know for sure that they're adding him into the game, before investing the time and money to bring in a voice actor to do the voice lines. But anyways, in addition to that, the insider has stated that we should be expecting Geonosis to come out as part of Season 3 DLC at the end of the summer. It's apparently going to have several phases to it like the other Galactic Assault maps do. But unfortunately, it won't be an open space desert map that everyone is expecting it to like it was in the old games. And before we even get all of that, DICE will be reusing old maps and new ways for gimmicky modes while at the same time fully concentrating on cosmetics. These modes are supposed to be like Hunt Mode, Drop Pod, Droid Run, and apparently some Racing Mode which we don't know anything about yet. It's also been made clear that if the progression update wasn't made at all, then we would have had Obi-Wan and Grievous already in February or March, with Solo in June and Padme and Jango Fett with Geonosis in August. At least that was the original plan, but I still don't see no Anakin Skywalker there, so come on. Now there are a few other things mentioned in the leaks, by actually an other unconfirmed leaker, but I won't be talking about that stuff in this video as it just seemed a little too iffy and I wanted to focus more on the bigger picture here. If by a miracle people do start dropping a lot of money on the new skins and DICE can convince EA to provide more funding to the game, then there's still a good future for Battlefront 2 after all. But considering the current state of the game and the community right now, that's a very difficult question to answer. Now, I've made it no secret to anyone that just like with the rest of the community, I've been very disappointed with what is happening with this game. But at the same time, I'm not going ballistic about it as some of you expect me to, as I mainly already figured out this stuff a while ago and by now it's all just sunk in for me. But I gotta say, neither Dennis, Ben, or the rest of the DICE team deserve the harsh words that they're getting from the community right now. They're trying the best they can with what they have to work with. If anyone is to be criticized for this mess, it's definitely the head honchos EA and Disney. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like it, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars related content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.